The first time Jace Rylan stepped onto the derelict star cruiser he had just purchased, the metallic floor vibrated beneath his boots. A cold echo rolled through the corridors. A mix of dust, stale air, and the faint charge of old energy coils filled his lungs. He felt the weight of the void outside as if the entire starship drifted inside a silent cosmic cathedral. Jace took another step forward. A thin beam of light flickered above him, revealing the curved architecture of an ancient vessel built by a species far older than any human empire. The ship was massive, too massive for one man, and far too cheap for the price he paid. That should have been the first warning. But Jace was human. Humans jumped into the unknown not because it was safe, but because it was there. He wiped his hands against his jacket, adjusted his utility belt, and walked deeper into the ship. The silence broke. Something enormous moved. A shadow slid across the corridor. Then another. Then a third. His heart clenched in his chest. He reached for the plasma cutter at his side. Before he could even activate it, a voice echoed across the metal walls. A voice deeper than thunder. A voice that shook the dust off the ancient ceilings. Human. Finally. Jace froze. The darkness shifted. 3 towering silhouettes stepped into the dim blue glow of the flickering lights. They were gigantic, at least 12 feet tall, muscular, armored in natural plates that looked like a fusion of bone and crystal. Their eyes glowed like molten gold. Their hair streamed down their backs like luminous nebula threads. 3 alien women, 3 warriors, 3 giants, and every instinct in Jace's body screamed that they were not simple inhabitants. They were apex predators. The first one approached. Her footsteps thundered through the ship. She lowered her head, studying him like he was a rare creature. Her voice rumbled through the corridor. "You are Jace Rylan. Human male, pilot, engineer, risk-taker." She leaned closer. Her breath was warm against his face. "You will do." Jace swallowed hard. Do for what? The second giant woman stepped forward. Her eyes glowed brighter. For the Covenant. The third one appeared behind him with a speed that shocked him. Her presence was overwhelming. For the Oath. The first giant placed her massive hand beside his head on the wall, trapping him without touching him. "You are going to marry us." Jace blinked. His pulse spiked. His brain stalled. "Marry you?" he said. "This must be a misunderstanding. I only bought this ship." The second giant tilted her head. Her glowing eyes softened, but her voice did not. "Yes, and by purchasing this vessel, you accepted the ancient contract bound to it." Jace felt cold. He felt hot. He felt as if he stood between 3 supernovas. "Contract for marriage?" The third one spoke again, her tone both gentle and terrifying. "Marriage is the closest translation your species understands. It is a union of survival, a joining of destinies." She circled him like a predator evaluating prey. "You were chosen because you are human. Humans endure what breaks others." The first giant leaned closer. Her skin shimmered like metallic obsidian. "You will join with us. You will help us reclaim our throne." Jace frowned. "What throne?" The second giant's voice became sharper. "The throne stolen from us by the Void Legion." The corridor lights flickered violently, as if reacting to the words. Jace felt the ship tremble beneath him. For the first time, a whisper of something immense and ancient moved through the air. A forgotten power. A sleeping engine. A heartbeat inside the metal. "The Void Legion?" Jace whispered. The third giant tapped her claw gently against his chest. "The greatest threat in this galaxy. They devour stars. They erase civilizations. They are coming." The first giant lowered her head until her eyes were level with his own. He felt their heat burn his fear away. "You will stand with us. Because humans do not bow. Humans rise." The second giant smiled for the first time. It was a devastatingly beautiful and terrifying sight. "And we require someone who rises when the universe tries to crush him." Jace felt his breath shake. He looked at them. 3 giant alien women, warriors of a lost empire, living in a starship he now owned, demanding marriage, demanding alliance, demanding war. He should have run. He should have refused. But the ship vibrated beneath him again. This time it felt like it had awakened, and deep inside that vibration, he felt a pulse that matched his own heartbeat. His voice came out steady. "What exactly do you need me to do?" All three giants smiled, slowly, powerfully, like three celestial queens welcoming a future king. The first one whispered. The word everything did not echo. It detonated. The metal walls trembled with an ancient vibration that resonated through Jace's bones. The three giant alien women stood taller, their silhouettes cutting against the flickering blue lights like living monoliths. The ship itself responded. Silent engines hummed awake below the deck. Hidden lights glowed like veins beneath metal skin. Jace felt the tremor rise through his boots, through his legs, through his chest, as if the Starship recognized him, as if it accepted him, as if it waited centuries for a human heartbeat. The first giant stepped back, giving him room. "Follow us, Jace Rylan." The air rippled around her voice. Not through sound, through authority. Jace inhaled, steadying himself, and followed them deeper into the ship. Each step they took was a thunderous drum against the hollow corridors. Jace's steps were quiet in comparison, but he did not shrink. Humans never shrank. They walked through corridors carved with symbols that shifted when he looked at them. The lights grew brighter the farther they went, as if waking one by one to greet him. The second giant glanced over her shoulder. Her golden eyes narrowed with something close to curiosity. "You do not fear us?" Jace answered honestly. "I do." But fear never stopped a human before. The third giant let out a soft, surprise hum. "This is why the universe fears your kind." Jace was not sure if that was a compliment or a threat. Probably both. They reached a massive circular chamber. The door slid open with a sound like a giant exhaling. The room glowed with swirling holograms of star systems, cosmic pathways, and burning red markers that pulsed like bleeding wounds across the galaxy. Jace stopped in place. The sight punched the breath from his lungs. "This is a war map." The first giant nodded slowly. "It is the last remaining tactical map of the Avarion throne worlds." The name vibrated with power. The air hummed with history. The stars rotated, zoomed, and clicked into position as if reacting to her presence. The second giant pointed toward a cluster of darkened systems marked in violent red. "The Void Legion has consumed these 12 star sectors." Jace blinked, stunned. 12 entire sectors? The third giant answered. "They do not conquer. They annihilate." Her voice was calm. Too calm. Jace looked at the spreading red across the galaxy map. "What do they want?" The first giant stepped closer, her height dwarfing him even more in the holographic glow. "They want silence. They want an empty universe. They want the end of all life." The second giant added, "And they want us, because we rebelled against them." Jace stared at them. 3 giant alien women. Warriors. Exiles. Survivors. Living on a ship older than any human empire. "And this ship," Jace said quietly, "this ship is the last remnant of your civilization." The third one placed her large hand on a glowing console. The entire room shimmered as ancient technology responded to her touch. "Yes, and it recognized you as a bonded partner the moment you entered it." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Why me?" The first giant turned toward him fully. Her presence swallowed the chamber like a rising eclipse. "Humans carry a genetic anomaly that no other species possesses." Jace's pulse quickened. "Anomaly?" The second giant explained. "Your species adapts faster than any known race. You learn, evolve, and improvise when others collapse." The third one approached him, lowering herself slightly so her eyes met his. "Humans survive what kills empires, and we require someone who can withstand the union ritual." Jace swallowed. He suddenly felt very small, very human, but he refused to step back. Union ritual. "I assume that is more than a marriage ceremony." All 3 giants smiled. Not comforting smiles. Predatory smiles. Strong smiles. "It binds minds. It binds strength. It binds destiny," the first giant said. "It merges life force and purpose," the second added. "It awakens the ship's core, The third finished. The ship hummed beneath their feet, as if agreeing. Jace exhaled slowly. He stepped closer to the holographic display and pointed toward the spreading red. If I do this, if I join with you, what exactly do we fight for? The first giant stepped beside him. Her voice dropped into a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. For the throne that was stolen from us. The second giant's voice softened. For the millions of our people who vanished. The third's golden eyes burned like a newborn star. For every life in the galaxy that still hopes to live. Jace felt fire ignite in his chest. Fear mixed with adrenaline. Uncertainty mixed with purpose. He looked at the three of them. He looked at the dying galaxy. He looked at the ancient ship awakening around him. He was one man. One human. But humans never back down from impossible odds. You said the Void Legion is coming. Jace said, how long until they reach us? The first giant touched the controls. The map zoomed out. A dark shape pulsed at the edge of the hologram. Not a fleet, not a ship. Something else. Something enormous. Something alive. Jace felt his skin crawl as the shape drifted forward like a shadow eating starlight. They're already here. Before Jace could respond, alarms blared through the chamber. Red lights flashed. The floor vibrated. A deep, ancient voice spoke from the ship's core. Throne-class intruder detected. Void bioform approaching. Defensive systems reinitializing. The three giants stiffened instantly. Their muscles tensed. Their eyes glowed brighter. The second giant turned sharply toward Jace. You must activate the core now. The floor split open. A lift rose from below. On it rested a glowing crystalline sphere the size of a human heart. It pulsed. Slow, steady waiting. The first giant lowered her voice. That is the heart of Avarion. Only a bonded partner can awaken it. Jace stepped forward. The heat from the sphere washed over him like a burning wind. The third giant whispered in his ear, if you touch it, your life will never be your own again. Jace did not answer. He stared into the swirling light inside the core. He felt the hum of its power pulling at him, calling him, choosing him. The Void Legion's shadow darkened the holographic stars behind him. The ship shook as something massive struck the outer hull. He heard metal groan. He heard alarm scream. He heard the universe demanding a choice. Jace placed his hand over the core. His breath steadied. His voice was quiet. I choose to fight. The core exploded with light. The ship roared awake. The giant stepped back in awe. Energy surged through the chamber like a living storm. Jace felt every nerve in his body ignite. He felt the ship connect to his mind, his heartbeat, his instincts. He felt the presence of the three giant alien women fuse around him like a protective aura, a union, a vow, a beginning. The Void Legion slammed into the hull again. The lights shifted to crimson, and Jace whispered to the blaze of power burning through his veins. Let them come. The light did not fade. It intensified. It wrapped around Jace like a living comet. The chamber vanished behind a storm of energy that roared like a newborn star. Every atom in the air vibrated. Every metal plate trembled. Every glowing symbol on the walls ignited in blinding radiance. Jace did not fall. He stood in the center of the storm. His hand remained pressed against the heart of Avarion, as if the universe anchored itself to his palm. He felt heat and cold at the same time. Pressure and weightlessness. Fear and clarity. Power and vulnerability. The core spoke, not in words, in pulses. A deep rhythmic thunder that matched his heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. His vision fractured. He saw flashes, moments, memories that were not his. He saw three alien queens standing on a sunlit throne platform, taller than mountains. He saw armies of living crystal marching through nebulous cities. He saw a civilization so advanced that stars bent their light around their temples. He saw the three giant women, younger, fierce, crowned in silver flame. And then he saw darkness, a shadow forming across the cosmos, like a living eclipse, like hunger made physical, the Void Legion, a storm of flesh and metal, a swarm of living machines, eyes like cold blue vortices, limbs like blades, Voices like static in agony. He felt their hunger. He felt their purpose. He felt their absolute will end everything. The images shattered. The chamber returned. Jace gasped as if he surfaced from drowning. The heart of Avarion floated above his hand now, spinning, blazing, reacting to him as if recognizing him. The three giant alien women stared at him with shock and awe. The first giant stepped forward. Her voice trembled for the first time. You connected with the core faster than any of our own kind ever did. The second giant's expression tightened. Humans should not be able to handle this level of neural load. The third giant touched her chest as if steadying herself. And yet you remained standing. Jace exhaled shakily. His skin glowed faintly with threads of silver energy that pulsed with every beat of his heart. He looked down at his hands. They shook, but he did not collapse. Humans broke rules the universe thought unbreakable. Humans were stubborn like that. The ship shuddered violently. A metallic scream echoed through the chamber. A deep impact slammed into the hull, sending Jace stumbling forward. The giants steadied themselves with clawed hands gripping the floor. The alarms flared again. Void bioform attack. Hull breach detected. Aft shield failure. Jace turned to the giants. What is hitting us? The first giant wasted no time. She pressed a symbol on the war map. A holographic display appeared. Something enormous clung to the ship. A creature. A biomechanical serpent with multiple jaws and metallic tendrils. Its skin writhed with liquid steel. Its eyes burned with cold blue fire. Jace felt his stomach tighten. That thing is alive. The second giant nodded. The Void Legion creates living ships, living weapons, living soldiers. The third added, this one is a Harrow Serpent, a scout, a small one. Jace stared. That is small. The ship lurched again. The serpent tore into the outer hull with saw-like limbs, screeching in a pitch that rattled the lights. Jace felt anger, fear, adrenaline, and determination collide inside him. He turned toward the heart of Avarion. The core pulsed like a beating star. If this ship is bond-linked to me, how do I control it? The first giant answered quickly. The core grants you partial command, but you must merge with the ship's neural interface. The second giant gestured toward a platform on the far side of the chamber. The throne conduit. It allows a pilot to become one with the vessel. The third giant stepped closer to him, lowering her head. Her golden eyes softened for a heartbeat. But it will hurt. The neural strain can tear a mind apart. Jace wiped sweat off his forehead. The ship shook again. The distant roar of the serpent echoed through the metal. He breathed deep. Hurting is better than dying. He ran. The giants followed. The corridor lights screamed red as they sprinted through the ship. The vibrations beneath their feet increased. Metal groaned. Something crashed behind them. The ship was under attack. They reached the throne conduit. It was a raised seat carved from living metal, suspended above a glowing pool of liquid light. It pulsed like a heart. It breathed like a creature. Jace swallowed. That looks dangerous. The first giant answered. It is... The second giant added. But it is the only way. The third giant stepped behind him, placing her enormous hands on his shoulders. He felt the heat of her touch, the strength, the ancient purpose. Her voice vibrated through him. Sit, Jace Rylan. Become the mind of the Starship. Jace sat. The metal reshaped itself instantly, gripping his arms and legs softly at first, then firmly. Energy surged up his spine. He gasped. A spike of cold lightning shot into his skull. He clenched his teeth, refusing to scream. Humans endured. The three giants surrounded him. Their hands pressed against the glowing conduits. Their energy flowed into the system. The ship awakened fully. Lights blazed. The chamber hummed with rising power. Jace felt the starship's awareness touch his mind. Not overwhelming. Not destructive. Curious. Ancient. And welcoming. A voice whispered into his mind. Pilot accepted. Jace tightened his grip on the armrests. Show me the serpent. A window of holographic reality opened directly in front of his vision. He saw the monstrous creature crawling across the hull, tearing at the ship's armor. He felt the ship's cannons warming up. He felt the engine spinning. He felt the power at his fingertips. The first giant leaned forward. Command the ship. Attack! Jace inhaled. Then he reached out with his mind. The ship responded instantly. The cannons on the port side lit up with blinding energy. The serpent screeched, turning its many jaws toward the weapons. Jace whispered, "Fire!" The cannons unleashed a blast of plasma that illuminated the void like a miniature sun. The beam struck the serpent. The creature howled and twisted. Metal flesh melted. Blue fire erupted from its wounds. Jace felt the recoil of the cannon through the ship's neural network. The serpent did not die. It launched itself at the viewport, claws extended, shrieking so loudly that the hull vibrated like a drum. Jace gritted his teeth. "Not on my ship." He fired again. A second blast tore through the creature's midsection. It exploded in a burst of black metal and blue flame. The entire ship shook from the shockwave. Silence followed. Heavy, deep. The giant stared at him. The third giant spoke first. Slow, awed. Humans really do adapt. The second giant's eyes widened. Your reaction time is impossible. The first giant smiled. A real smile. You are ours now, and the galaxy has no idea what you will become. Jace breathed deeply. The glow around his body dimmed. The thrown conduit loosened its grip, but he did not stand. Not yet. His mind was still linked. He still felt the ship. He still felt the heartbeat of the three giants beside him, and far in the distance, he felt something else. A presence, a vast one, a storm of minds, a chorus of hunger, a shadow stretching across the stars. The real Void Legion. The serpent had only been a scout. The true threat was coming. Closer, stronger, endless. Jace whispered, "They know we are here." The first giant looked at the war map. Red markers multiplied. Dark shapes moved. The Void Legion was awakening. And they were coming. Fast. Jace's eyes hardened. His voice became steel. "Then we will meet them." Jace stared at the spreading crimson blotches. Each one represented a Void Legion vessel. Some were enormous. Some were small. Some pulsed with signatures, so massive the ship's sensors struggled to label them. His pulse matched the rhythm of the Starship's awakening core. His mind remained partially linked to the vessel systems. He felt the hull vibrating. He felt the weapon banks charging. He felt the ancient engines humming with growing eagerness. The three giant alien women approached him. Their footsteps echoed like distant thunder. Their presence swallowed the room like rising mountains. The first giant, the one whose voice carried command like a blade, leaned close. Her golden eyes narrowed. "Jace Rylan, you must prepare yourself. The Void Legion will not send another scout. They will unleash a full brood." The second giant stepped beside her. Her muscles tensed beneath her crystalline armor. A brood fleet will tear through an unprepared star system. They do not retreat. They do not negotiate. The third giant lowered her gaze to him. Her expression softened by something almost protective. "And they have sensed the awakening of the Avarion heart. They want it. They want us. They want you." Jace brushed a hand across his forehead. The neural link still buzzed inside his mind like a swarm of sparks. He could feel the Starship's awareness brushing against him. Curious, ancient, alert, he stood from the throne, conduit slowly. His legs trembled, only slightly. Humans were not meant to connect with a ship built by a species older than most galaxies. But Jace remained standing. He met the gaze of the three giants without fear. "What is the plan?" The first giant straightened, her towering form casting a long shadow over him. "First, we must leave this region of space. The Void Legion will converge on this location within minutes." The second giant added, "We must engage the Slipstream drive. This ship can travel through the sublayer currents of space-time, but the drive has been dormant for centuries." Jace frowned. "Can the drive even ignite after all this time?" The third giant answered with a calm certainty. "Only if a bonded pilot commands it." Jace nodded. The ship thrummed beneath him. Lights flickered and stabilized. He felt the vessel's engines warming deeper down, like a heartbeat stirring in massive lungs. He stepped toward the nearest console. The controls opened at his approach, metal shifting with a liquid-smooth motion. The ship recognized him, accepted him, one human pilot, linked to an ancient core, bonded by their custom. To three giant alien warriors who now stood beside him, Jace exhaled sharply. All right, tell me how to activate the Slipstream drive. The first giant pointed toward a circular symbol glowing beneath a layer of flickering starlight. Your neural signature must initiate the sequence. The ship must know your intent. The second giant added, focus. Picture your destination. The ship will interpret the image and find the fastest current. Jace inhaled. He pressed his palm to the glowing symbol. The metal warmed instantly. The ship's voice whispered inside his mind. Slipstream authentication initiated. Pilot, state intention. Jace closed his eyes. He saw a star, bright blue, distant. A safe system. Far from the Void Legion. Far enough to regroup. Far enough to survive. He breathed the name aloud. Soulless Gate System. The lights dimmed. The floor vibrated. Space outside the ship rippled on the holographic screen. The starship's engines howled as ancient powers surged into them. The three giants braced themselves. The third one leaned close to his ear, her voice a low rumble. The transition may hurt. Jace smirked just slightly. Everything today hurts. The Slipstream drive roared. A blast of blue-white light erupted through the chamber. Jace felt a violent jolt, like space folding in his chest. The ship shot forward. Reality bent. Stars stretched into long silver streaks. The universe twisted into spirals of blue energy. He felt pressure. He felt weightlessness. He felt like he flew through the veins of the cosmos itself. The giants held their positions balanced and fierce, while Jace forced himself to breathe through the crushing sensation. Boom! The ship punched through the final barrier. Silence followed. Smooth. Calm. Almost peaceful. Jace opened his eyes. Outside, Slipstream currents flowed like rivers of starlight. Blue, silver, green, swirling in endless cosmic ribbons. The sight stole his breath. He felt his mind stretch with awe. This is incredible. The third giant stepped beside him. Her voice softened. This is what freedom looked like in our age. The first giant studied the displays. Slipstream current stable. Time to destination, 11 hours. The second giant turned toward Jace. Her expression sharpened. You must rest, human. Your mind endured a strain that would have killed most species. Jace exhaled slowly. His legs wobbled. His vision flickered. He felt the aftershock of neural overload. The giant stepped closer. He noticed something unexpected. Concern. Not commanding. Not demanding. Not predatory. Genuine concern. The first giant placed a massive hand on his shoulder. Warm. Heavy. Steady. You fought the Harrow Serpent like a seasoned warrior, but you are still flesh. The second giant knelt so she could meet his eye level. You need recovery. The third giant stood behind him, her presence enveloping him with a protective stillness. Come, we will take you to the recovery chamber. Jace nodded and allowed himself to be guided. They led him down a long corridor that glowed with soft blue lights. The hum of the Slipstream currents outside blended with the gentle thrum of the ship. He felt exhaustion creeping into his bones. He felt his mind drifting, but he refused to fall. Humans always push through. They reached a chamber filled with shimmering liquid light. The room smelled of clean energy and something like warm ozone. A pod rose from the floor, large enough to hold even one of the giant women. Its surface pulsed with gentle waves of silver blue light. Jace blinked at it. What is this? The second giant answered. A Vitali's regeneration pod. It heals neural strain, stabilizes mind synchronization, and restores physical stamina. The first giant folded her arms. You enter it. You rest. You awaken stronger. The third giant stepped closer, lowering her voice. It may feel strange. Do not fight the sensation. Jace wiped a hand across his face. His eyelids grew heavy. His chest ached from the neural link. His muscles trembled. He nodded. All right, let's do it. The giants opened the pod. Light spilled out like warm mist. Jace climbed inside. The surface felt cool, then warm, then weightless. The pod closed. The liquid light surrounded him. He did not drown. He floated. He felt held. Lifted. Carried. His heartbeat slowed. His mind drifted. He heard distant echoes. Voices. Whispers. The giants' voices. Their presence lingered around him through the ship's network. Then he felt something else. A shadow. Faint. Far. But approaching. A distant ripple across Slipstream space. The Void Legion. They had sensed the drive activation. They were tracking him. They were hunting him. His last conscious thought before darkness pulled him under was simple. They will come for me. I will be ready. Jace drifted in the liquid light, weightless and suspended between consciousness and the awakening neural storm. He felt every fiber of his body unwind and reassemble simultaneously. Muscles reformed with strength, nerves tingled with sharp alertness, and his mind stretched to contain the pulse of the Avarion heart. Every breath felt like inhaling a supernova. Through the liquid glow, he sensed the 3 giant women standing nearby. Their energy radiated into the pod as a protective wings of light. He could feel their vigilance, their waiting. But outside the Slipstream, a ripple of shadow tore through the currents of space. He felt it, not with sight, not with hearing, but with the raw link to the ship itself. The Void Legion advanced. A presence vast, endless, relentless. It moved like a storm across starlight, bending currents, consuming paths, and striking fear into systems that had existed for millions of years. Jace's pulse quickened. Humans thrived under pressure. Humans survived impossible odds. He opened his eyes and found the pod's liquid shimmering, responding to his thought. His hands moved above the surface and traced invisible patterns. The liquid pulsed, matching his mind. The ship thrummed in approval. It had bonded with him fully. Outside the pod, he sensed the giants preparing. The first giant's footsteps echoed like distant thunder. She tapped the hull with her claw. The ship responded. Weapons warmed. Shields flared faintly with protective energy. The second giant traced a hand along the glowing conduits of the chamber. Her voice vibrated through the link. He is awake in the pod. The union strengthens. But the Void Legion draws near. The third giant hovered close. Her golden eyes locked onto his. You will emerge stronger than any human has ever been. But be warned, the first strike will be overwhelming. Jace inhaled deeply. The fear that rippled through him was familiar. It tasted like adrenaline and cosmic ozone. He let it fuel him. Fear sharpened humans. It did not break them. The pod shuddered. The liquid light rippled violently. He felt the first pulse of a Void Legion assault. Not against the hull. Not against the shields. Against his mind. It struck like an invasive tide, clawing at the neural link, probing for weakness. Memories that were not as tried to inject themselves. Nightmarish visions of entire civilizations erased. Voices of billions screaming in unison. Stars extinguished by nothing more than hunger. He clenched his teeth. Humans endured. He imagined the Void Legion's power as a storm he could ride, not a wave that could drown him. He focused on the heartbeat of the ship, the pulse of the core. The 3 giants' combined energy flowing like a shield around him. The neural assault ripped at him. Pain exploded in his head, teeth, and chest. The pod shone with white brilliance. He screamed, but was drowned in the roar of the Slipstream currents. Then the pod stabilized. The liquid light calmed. The pain dulled. The neural storm became a river, and he felt something strange. Not victory. Not survival. Control. The Void Legion's probing assault recoiled. It had not expected a human to endure and dominate the neural interface so completely. Jace opened his eyes fully. The pod recognized him. The ship recognized him. And the 3 giant women outside knew something new. He controls the ship, the first giant whispered. Her voice trembled with awe. No species should survive that attack, the second giant added, eyes wide. Humans are extraordinary, the third giant murmured, a faint smile crossing her massive face. Jace pushed against the pod's liquid. It resisted at first. Then it flowed with him, bending, stretching, lifting him upward. He emerged, standing, stronger, faster. The three giants flanked him immediately. Their massive forms radiated power, anticipation, and sheer intent. Jace felt their combined presence, felt their centuries of experience, and he stood taller. Not just a man, a human bonded with an ancient starship, a human worthy of alliance with beings that could tear galaxies apart. The holographic displays flickered violently. Red markers multiplied across the war map. The Void Legion was accelerating. This time, no single scout. A fleet of biomechanical horrors, spreading across the Slipstream paths like a living plague. Jace's breath hitched with excitement rather than fear. The human's trait, to rise against impossible odds. He moved to the controls. The ship responded instantly, a living weapon beneath his hands. The cannons glowed. Shield matrices hummed. Energy conduits pulsed with anticipation. The first giant leaned close, her voice booming. "You decide strategy. We will execute with you." The second added, sharp, "Do not hesitate." The Void Legion recognizes hesitation as weakness. The third whispered, almost reverently, "And it is your ingenuity that will save us." Jace exhaled. The Void Legion fleet grew on the displays. Every vessel, massive and alive, pulsing with alien intent. The nearest ones were only minutes away. He felt a spark of human audacity. "Prepare to fire everything," he said, "but not just to attack. To lure them." The giants looked at him, surprised but trusting. Humans thrived on ingenuity in battle. They survived by turning weakness into opportunity. Jace moved across the holographic map. He selected target points. He calculated currents of slipstream space, sublayer accelerations, and gravitational eddies. Every decision had to be precise. One mistake would shatter the ship, or worse, let the Void Legion breach their defenses. A pulse shook the hull. The first real strike of the approaching fleet. The outer hull rippled. The slipstream currents outside twisted unnaturally. He could see them now, through the sensors and through the neural bond. Shimmering, metallic serpents of living tech, stretching hundreds of meters, their tentacles lashing, their jaws gnashing. Jace's mind worked faster than any human mind should. His hands danced over controls, manipulating energy vectors, weapon timing, and shield distribution. The ship responded as if alive, bending, twisting, firing in perfect synchronization. The first giant raised her claw. Energy spikes shot from her fingertips. The second did the same. The third joined in, her golden eyes glowing with raw power. Together, they augmented Jace's strategy with centuries of combat experience. The Void Legion faltered. Their strikes met shields that bent around them. Weapons fired with precision they had not anticipated. And Jace, human, smiled under the assault. He was no longer just surviving. He was fighting. He was adapting. He was winning. A massive void leviathan launched from the fleet. Its jaws glowed with corrosive plasma. It was 10 times the size of the previous scout. It struck the hull with the force of a meteor. The ship shuddered. The slipstream warps threatened to tear apart under strain. But Jace had anticipated this. He rotated the ship mid-current, using sublayer eddies to sling around the leviathan. Cannons fired. Energy lances struck vital points in the biometal armor. The creature shrieked, a sound that vibrated through the ship's neural link. Pain and destruction radiated, but Jace held steady. The first giant's voice boomed. "Incredible. You bend the currents like a master of the stars." The second giant's tone was sharp with exhilaration. No human should possess this intuition. The third giant's whisper was reverent. "And yet he is ours." Jace smiled. The void leviathan faltered, and he realized something profound. Humans were unpredictable. They could think, adapt, and endure in ways no ancient species, no machine, and no predator could anticipate. The battle had just begun. The Void Legion fleet surged closer. But Jace and the three giants were ready. The ship roared with ancient power, alive and fully awakened. The slipstream currents twisted like molten ribbons of light. And Jace, human, stood at the center unbroken, commanding, prepared to prove that even in a universe of gods, monsters, and ancient powers, humans would endure and rise. The Void Legion would learn this the hard way. The The Void Legion fleet shimmered in the slipstream currents like a storm of metallic leviathans. Endless serpents, bristling with spines, tentacles, and bioluminescent eyes, glided to the sublayer rivers of space. Their collective hum was deafening, a resonance that clawed at Jace's mind. But he did not falter. The ship beneath him pulsed with energy, thrumming like a living beast, aligned perfectly with his heartbeat. He could feel every weapon bank, every shield conduit, every flux of energy bending toward his will. The three giant women flanked him, their presence massive and unwavering, their energy intertwined with the ship, with Jace, and with each other. It was symbiotic. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. The first giant leaned toward him. Her voice rumbled, resonating through the ship's neural network. Jace Rylan, target their vanguard. Draw them into the current nexus. Do not hesitate. The second giant tapped a claw against the holographic display. Use the Slipstream's eddies to your advantage. We will augment your vectors with our energy. Make them bleed before they touch the hull. The third giant's voice was a soft rumble, almost intimate. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Humans see what others do not. Jace swallowed. He felt a surge of adrenaline, focus sharpening every sense. His pulse matched the rhythm of the Avarion heart. The slipstream currents roared outside like living rivers of light. He activated the first volley. Plasma cannons fired. Energy lances streaked like lightning through the void. The first wave of Leviathans staggered under the precision attack. They were fast, brutal, nearly unstoppable. But humans were cunning. Humans adapted. Jace twisted the ship mid-current, weaving through gravitational vortices. The Leviathans crashed into each other. Tentacles flailed. Plasma fire erupted. Jace smiled, teeth clenched with exhilaration. Humans thrived on impossible odds. They thrived in chaos. They thrived when every calculation screamed doom. The first giant's voice boomed above the neural link. Excellent. Maintain pressure. Lure them into the narrow channel. The second giant's hands glowed as she augmented the ship's vector field. Energy radiated from her fingertips, bending the currents, amplifying velocity, twisting space. The third giant channeled her force into the shield lattice. The shields flared, taking every blow, twisting energy around the hull like living armor. Jace's hands moved with mechanical precision and human intuition combined. He saw patterns no sensor could detect. He predicted movement no algorithm could calculate. He commanded. The ship obeyed. The Void Legion fleet was enormous. Yet even as their numbers pressed closer, they faltered against a single human mind bonded with a starship and three ancient warriors. Jace laughed under the strain, not with arrogance, with exhilaration. This was what humans were meant for, the impossible. Suddenly, a massive void leviathan surged forward. Its jaws were wide enough to consume the entire bridge. Tentacles lashed, tearing at the slipstream currents. The ship shuddered. Red warning lights blazed. The hull creaked like it might tear apart. Jace felt the heat of its biometallic energy in his chest. Through the neural link, pain lanced through his mind as if the creature sought to devour his very consciousness. The first giant shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Redirect all lateral energy into the front shields. Target its tendrils with the secondary cannons. The second giant added, her tone precise and fierce. Focus the slipstream eddy. Pull it forward into the trap. The third giant whispered, almost intimately, into the neural link, her voice threading into his mind. Jace, you know what to do. Humans can improvise. Humans can survive where others fail. Jace gritted his teeth. The neural assault from the Leviathan was immense. It sought to break him, to end him, to consume the bond. He pushed forward, not resisting, not fleeing. He flowed. Humans thrived in the storm. Humans became the storm. The ship twisted violently in the slipstream, slinging the Leviathan forward. Energy cannons blazed. Plasma struck the creature. The hull groaned. The Leviathan shrieked, a sound 1,000 tortured circuits fused with screaming flesh. It writhed. It tore. It surged. And then it fell apart. The three giants exhaled in unison. Their energy had stabilized. Their presence radiated through the ship like the pulse of gods. Jace wiped sweat from his brow. Every muscle burned, every nerve tingled, and yet he stood. Humans endured. Humans survived. Humans adapted. A sudden alert pierced the neural link. Incoming fleet. Central Vanguard approaching. Estimated mass, 12 kilometers. Warning, Void Queen detected. Jace froze. The Void Queen, a biomechanical entity of unimaginable scale, commanding the Void Legion fleet, an intelligence older than most stars. The first giant's eyes widened. Her voice trembled slightly with awe. Impossible it should be too soon. The second giant tightened her fists, golden energy sparking across her armor. No human has ever faced alone, not even our ancestors. The third giant's expression softened, almost protective. And yet he is human. Jace's pulse quickened. The Void Queen moved through the slipstream like liquid darkness. Its form was colossal, tentacles writhing like serpents. Its eyes glowed a piercing blue, scanning, calculating. It had already detected the human. He inhaled. Humans thrived in the face of death. Humans stood when all others fell. Humans adapted. The ship roared with the bond of ancient energy. The giant's combined power radiated through every conduit, channeling through Jace. The cannons flared. The shields pulsed. Slipstream currents twisted. The Void Queen approached. Jace clenched his fists. His mind raced. Every tactical option flashed through him. Every possibility weighed. Every chance to survive considered. He smiled. Not fear, not despair. Exhilaration. Humans thrive where others faltered. He whispered into the neural link. Let's see what you are made of. The Void Queen surged forward. Its tentacles tore through slipstream eddies, collapsing energy around them. The first giant projected a barrier of pure energy, stopping the initial assault. The second giant focused her power into the weapon arrays. The third giant amplified the ship's response. And Jace? He became the conductor of chaos. The human mind guided an ancient vessel. Every cannon fired with precision no alien mind could anticipate. Every shield adjusted with anticipatory calculation. Every energy conduit pulsed with rhythm of battle. The Void Queen shrieked, massive jaws snapping. It lashed tentacles. But the human-led ship twisted, danced, and struck back. The giants' voices roared in unison through the neural link. Humans! Adapt! Survive! Rise! Jace felt it. Every strike, every evasive maneuver, every pulse of energy flowing through him. The Void Queen paused. It had never encountered this. It had never faced a species that could anticipate instinctively. It had never met a human. The battle had just begun. But already, the galaxy would remember the name. Jace Rylan. Human, pilot, bonded with the heart of Avarion, and about to prove that even against gods, monsters, and the impossible, humans endure and rise. The battle with the Void Queen had stretched across slipstream currents like a storm consuming the cosmos. Jace felt every pulse, every surge, every beat of the ship as if the Avarion heart had become part of him. The three giant alien women flanked him, their energy flowing into the vessel, into him, into every cannon, every shield, every system that responded to his will. The Void Queen was massive, larger than any starship, older than most empires. Her tentacles shredded slipstream currents like threads, and her eyes glowed with a cold intelligence that calculated billions of possible outcomes. But humans were not bound by expectation. Humans thrived where others faltered. Humans rose where all others fell. Jace's mind raced, calculating, predicting, improvising. He used the slipstream currents like a painter uses a brush, twisting reality, slinging the Void Queen into gravitational eddies, and luring her into zones of concentrated energy. The ship pulsed in response, its core blazing white-hot with the combined power of the three giant women, and the human mind that had bonded with it. The Void Queen shrieked, a sound that echoed through Jace's neural link like 1,000 dying stars. Her tentacles lashed, but each attack met precise counters. Every cannon fired in perfect rhythm. Every shield shifted instinctively. The first giant roared, her voice reverberating through the ship. Strike now, Jace Rylan. Strike as one with the ship. The second giant's golden eyes glowed brighter than the slipstream itself. Unleash the energy conduits. Focus on her core. The third giant stepped closer, whispering into his mind. Remember your humanity. That is your strength. That is why you endure. Jace felt it. Fear, pain, and adrenaline collided into focus. He no longer felt fatigue. He no longer felt uncertainty. He was a ship. The ship was him. And with the giant at his side, he was unstoppable. He directed the Avarion heart's energy into the conduits of the cannons. The ship's weapons glowed with blinding intensity, like molten stars forged into blades of pure light. The Void Queen screamed again, lashing wildly, but Jace anticipated every movement. Every tentacle strike met a counterstrike. Every attempt at enveloping the ship failed. He smiled. Humans thrived in chaos. Humans adapted. Humans conquered the impossible. And this was impossible. The ship twisted through the slipstream, weaving between gravitational eddies and current of energy that should have shredded lesser vessels. The Void Queen followed, relentless, furious, but unable to match the human's intuition and unpredictability. Jace pressed forward. The energy from the heart of Avarion expanded, engulfing the Void Queen in a blinding white field of pure force. Her massive body twisted, flailing, yet Jace guided the flow like a conductor with a symphony of destruction. The giants poured their strength into him, into the ship, amplifying every strike, every pulse. And then he reached her core, a pulsating nucleus of biometallic intelligence, glowing with energy older than any galaxy. Jace focused, feeding every ounce of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability into the strike. The ship pulsed, the cannons fired, and the energy surged through the Void Queen. She roared, a sound that could have shattered planets. Tentacles writhed, massive jaws snapped, but the human mind, the ship, and the three ancient alien women were one. The final pulse struck her core. A blinding explosion of white-hot energy consumed her entire being. The slipstream rippled violently, currents twisting as the Void Queen's body disintegrated into sparks of alien energy. Her scream faded into silence. And then, stillness. Jace exhaled. The ship stabilized. The three giant women pressed their hands against the consoles, energy still flowing from them, but easing now. Their golden eyes softened. The first giant whispered reverent, "Impossible, but it is done." The second giant nodded, her energy dimming to a soft glow. The Void Queen is no more. The fleet will scatter without her guidance. The third giant looked at Jace, her expression almost maternal, and the human endured where all others would have fallen. Jace sank into the nearest chair, exhausted yet alive. The ship hummed beneath him, a living entity, now fully aware of the human who had proven himself worthy. He felt the three women present around him, protective, reverent, and proud. He looked at the war map. Red markers shrank. The Void Legion swarm had dispersed, retreating into unknown currents of space. Systems that would have been consumed were safe, at least for now. The first giant placed her massive hand on his shoulder. "You have changed the course of history. Human, you have proven what we have always known, that your species endures where others crumble." The second giant smiled, a rare and genuine gesture. "You are more than a pilot. You are a warrior, a strategist, and a survivor." The third giant stepped closer, her voice soft, almost intimate. "And you are ours, Jace Rylan, bonded for life, for purpose, for protection of this universe." Jace looked at them, three towering alien women, each a force of nature, each ancient, each powerful beyond imagining. And he, a single human, had fought alongside them. He had endured what no other human or alien could survive, and he had prevailed. He exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the victory settle. The ship glowed softly, responding to his mind, recognizing him as its master. The slipstream currents outside flowed calmly, like rivers of light now undisturbed. He felt a hand on his arm, warm, immense. He looked up at the first giant. "Rest, Jace. You have earned it," she said. He nodded, finally allowing exhaustion to take him. The second giant motioned toward the recovery chamber. "The Vitalis pod will restore your strength fully. The neural strain will fade. Your mind will be ready for the challenges to come. The third giant lingered a moment, golden eyes glimmering. And when you awaken, we will face the universe together. Jace stepped toward the pod, his body trembling with fatigue, his mind still buzzing with adrenaline. He entered the chamber. The liquid light enveloped him again, this time gentle, soothing. He felt his muscles relax. His mind recalibrated. Every neuron fired with renewed clarity. He drifted into a light sleep, but not a vulnerable one. Even in rest, his connection to the ship remained. Even in rest, his bond with the three giants remained unbroken. He had proven himself. A single human standing alongside beings older than stars, fighting a threat that had extinguished empires. Time passed differently in the Slipstream. Hours, perhaps days, perhaps only minutes. When he finally opened his eyes, the ship was calm. The currents flowed gently around them. The war map was clear, and the three giants waited beside him, still glowing faintly with residual energy. Jace rose. He looked at them, at the living starship that had become his partner, and at the vast galaxy outside. A sense of purpose settled over him, a sense that no matter the darkness, humans could endure, could rise, could overcome. The first giant stepped forward, her massive hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "The Void Legion will return," she said, solemn. Jace nodded, feeling no fear. Humans thrived in the impossible. They endured. They adapted. They conquered. "Then we will be ready," he said. Together, the second giant smiled. "You understand now, human, your uniqueness, your courage, your ingenuity. It is what makes you the ultimate bond for the ship, for us, and for this galaxy." The third giant stepped close, golden eyes reflecting starlight. "And together, we will protect everything that lives and breathes. We will endure. We will rise. We will fight always." Jace exhaled slowly, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. He had faced the impossible. He had proven human strength and ingenuity in a universe that doubted it. He had earned the trust of beings who had survived millennia. He had survived an assault from creatures that would have annihilated any other race. And he had emerged victorious. He stood on the bridge of the Starship, the three giants beside him, the Slipstream currents flowing past like rivers of light, and the galaxy stretching endlessly beyond. Jace Rylan, a single human, had become more than a pilot. He had become a symbol of endurance, courage, and the power of humanity. The stars themselves seemed to recognize it. A galaxy filled with danger, ancient powers, and impossible threats would remember. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans rose. And in the heart of the Avarion Starship, bonded with three immortal warriors, Jace whispered himself, a quiet promise of the battles yet to come. "We will rise. Always." The three giants nodded, their forms glowing softly, protective and reverent. The ship pulsed gently under his hands, alive, aware, bonded. And together, human and alien, they faced the endless expanse of the universe, ready for whatever came next. The Slipstream currents carried them forward. The galaxy awaited, and humanity had proven its place among the stars. The adventure was not over, but the victory was clear. The bond was eternal, and Jace Rylan, human, would stand with the giants against anything the universe could throw at them. Together, unbroken, unstoppable, the stars shimmered, the galaxy waited, and humanity had risen.